Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell. Lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and while I'm here in Washington State, Lee is in warm Orlando. How's it been down there?
It's good. We got a little cold spell, and that's been beautiful. And about maybe 55 degrees, which is perfect. I got to wear a jacket, so life's good. Everything's fine. Yeah.
It's not that often Lee gets to accessorize with a jacket.
No, and I usually leave it wherever I go. I went to Coffee for the Soul, wore it, left it on the back of the chair. They had it for me the next day that I had left it there. So, yeah. Anyway, it's good. Had a good year, good Christmas.
Well, I'm not going to say that my daughter is spoiled, but I do go out and start the car for her every morning at
Oh God.
before she leaves for school. And when I did, it was 35 this morning.
I feel sorry for her potential husband.
Yeah, well, we'll deal with that when the time comes. Well, Lee, I have a listener question. Before I go there, let me mention our friends at Magical Vacation Planner. They will not go out and start your car on cold mornings, but they will help you create a wonderful vacation. You can reach them at 407-442-2694. One of the great things about working with them, it doesn't cost you anything because it's built into the price of going to Disney or Universal or a cruise, wherever you want to go. Now, listener question. If you have a question or a topic you would like Lee and I to talk about, you can send it to either one of us, Lee at leecockerell.com, Jody at jodymayberry.com. And I will use your name unless you say not to, because who doesn't love hearing the sound of their voice or the sound of their name? Now, I guess not everybody loves the sound of their voice. That's what I slip to, but
Probably
people,
not.
yeah. All right. Well, this question comes from Tina, and she said that she feels like she's thorough when she trains a new employee, but several weeks in, it's like they didn't pay attention and didn't follow their own notes or instructions. And it gets frustrating for her because she has to retrain them and undo habits that they started to do that do not fit the position. So that's it, Lee. The question is, hey, I train people, but a few weeks in, not only are they not doing what they're trained, they have bad habits. So what do we do about that?
It's like having kids. You know, that's the problem. You got to be out and about in your business, around. You got to be observing what's going on, and you got to correct people immediately. Don't let it get out of hand. If you're walking your business and they're not doing what you trained them to do, you step over and you tell them, and you say, "Oh," and remind them, and remind them, and remind them. You know, people need to hear things over and over and over again, and uh, they they got to do it for some period of time till it becomes the way it is, the habit. And don't get frustrated. Just understand that this is real. It's going to happen. It happens to all of us in a way until we set a new habit and understand a new standard or something we have to do that's for our own benefit. So that's part of the curse of being a manager. It never ends, and you just got to be out and observing and being in your business and watching and reminding. And yeah, that's it. That really is that simple. Because most people want to do a good job, but they just fall back into their habits easily until they get a new habit, and that's really, I, you know, if I called your mother, she would tell me she had to do that many times with you. And you probably have to do it with your kids sometimes. Remind them of what we stand for, what our values are, how we do things, because they're young and they're new and they've never done it before. The manager may have been doing it for years and years and years, and it just seems like common sense to them, but it's not common sense. It's a behavior that's learned on the job and through time. So she ought to just keep after it and reinforce it. And by the way, probably one of those things like we do at Disney is have those morning meetings for 10 minutes and remind all the employees of this top 3 or 4 things about taking care of the customer and paying attention and being alert and not being on their phones or whatever the problem is. And if you do that every morning, you're going to be able to correct those things you saw the day before when it it came to you. So right. That's one of the best things we did is have those morning huddles where 5, 10 minutes we talk about how we do things around here. Yeah,
Well, and that's good to talk about those, and those morning huddles or pre-shift meetings are a common feature in the Main Street Leader. Lee writes about those. I wouldn't say every volume of the Main Street Leader, but pretty close. Just a reminder, because that's how important it is. Meet every day and hit on the same things. And I think when it comes to messages you're trying to get out there, training you're trying to get out there, you have to be absolutely sick of talking about it. And once you feel you're sick talking about it, they're probably just hearing it for the first time.
absolutely. Routine and repetition are your best friends. So just keep doing it. One of the skills you will need. Don't get frustrated.
Yeah, there we go. And so Lee often re- talks about being a leader, similar to being a parent. And one thing I have realized as the parent of two teens is it's so easy to judge the decisions that teenagers make based on our experience and what we know, but they've never been through anything like this before. And they're making decisions based on very limited experience and limited knowledge. And I think it's the same when you bring someone on and train them, then they make decisions based on their limited experience, their limited knowledge, and really limited training because they've only been trained on it one time. Well, you have years of experience and you've seen people come and go and make the same mistakes, and you're the one doing the training. But you have to keep in mind they're younger. They don't have much experience in this yet, and they've only been trained on it one time. So you do just have to keep that idea that they're making decisions based on being in a place way different than you are. And you just, Lee said, repetition over and over.
Absolutely. That's why as we get older, we know more. We finally get it. So this is just there. Every manager in the world has this problem, and they think it's a problem, but it's not. It's just you got to just start to believe this is part of my job, and that's I'm not going to get frustrated about it. I know I've trained them. Now I know I got to be observing them every day. I need to have a pre-shift meeting every day. The minute I see something they should be doing, I just step over and say, "Hey, this would be a better way next time. Thank you." And in a month, they'll be one of your best people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that and this is such a common issue that Lee and I hear about. That's actually why we m- did the last training we've come up with is called the frontline rules, which is give or take 50 rules. I don't remember how many there are, Lee, but there it's a series of this is how it works on the front line. And we've done it in a way that it isn't specific to a coffee shop or a hotel or a car dealer. It is across the board, no matter what your role is or your industry or your job. This is
that's
how it works on the front line.
that's it. That's the way we do it. Now we got to do it.
Yeah, that's right. And we have been looking at how getting this in front of more people for this very reason. Just so you may have your own internal training. This is a supplement of that, of Lee talking to your front line about, look, this is how the front line works. Now, there are specific things to your job. There are specific things to your organization, but this is how the front line works.
Exactly. It's there's not a lot of difference no matter where you are, the kinds of things and the behavior and how you pay attention and how you understand how important you are as the front line in front of the customer. You are the brand. And I think that's the first video we do. You are the brand. Customer's going to leave your store or your operation or get off the phone with you, not the manager, not the vice president, not the director, not the owner. And you have a lot of power and a lot of influence, and it's really important to make that point when you are hiring people and training them and following up with them. And just like your mother said, don't you remember what I told you? That's what you'll be saying that a lot when you lead people, but what you're actually doing is developing them for better things down the road. And one day they'll have to do the same thing and they'll remember when you did it.
I,
So
I think my mother still says that to me, Lee. Don't you remember what I told you?
Oh, mothers never stop. They think, yeah, they never stop. That goes on forever. And that's because they care about you. That's the main reason they do it. They worry about you. They worry about your safety. They worry about your success, and so they just tell you the truth.
All right, Lee. So let's revisit this one more time. That in this situation, they've been trained and perhaps they didn't pay attention or they just didn't retain anything and have to have to break habits. At what point during this do you say, I'll give you two scenarios. One where you say, okay, now I see it what that there comes a time where I feel like I have to retrain them. So one, should you build that into training where there's a second round of training to reinforce? And then at what point do you realize, my goodness, this isn't a training issue, it's this individual and something has to be done. So where is that line?
Yeah, I think for me, if I've trained you and I've done a good job, and I know you left with clarity, and then it's a matter for me is I just want to be out and about dealing with individuals. I don't want to make everybody go back through training because one or two people don't do what they're supposed to do, and just constantly correcting and observing, and whoever needs it, and watching, and correcting them and making sure they understand that. Remember, we talked about this in training. Now, here's how I need you to do it. Okay, you understand? And they'll usually say, "Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot." Or, people, everybody's a little different. You may have one person you're going to have to spend a lot more time than somebody else, and then it's a judgment call at the end. If you're still doing it 3 months later and they're not getting any better and they're blowing it off and not paying attention, then you can decide if you need to make a change.
I like that. Lee's told us many times over the years, don't manage to the exception. And this is the same. Okay, you have two or three people that the training didn't stick. Don't make everyone else redo it. Just work on those people.
Yeah, my mother used to punish my brother and I both when we wouldn't admit who did it. So we didn't like that.
Was it
Yeah,
usually you when you wouldn't admit it, Lee?
could be.
All right. Well, if you have a question you would like Lee and I to talk about on the show, reach out. You can find Lee at leecockerell.com. I'm at jodymayberry.com. And if you want to find out about the Frontline Rules, the new course, you can go to cockerellacademy.com. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.